Okay, so let's have a look now at my second game played of Brixham at the back end of 2022 using the well, partially deadly, not particularly deadly from the first game, 15mm Tibetans. So there's a few Tibetan soldiers. So let's have a look what came up against us in the next game. And this was a Koryo Korean Initiative 3, sort of a historical event really. But then again, I suppose it was an Eastern themed competition, so that was likely to be the same. So what do you have in this army? You've got you've got some heavy cataphracts and heavy swordsmen to support them. It relies quite a lot on the mixed troops, the mixed half spearmen, half bowmen. Now, half spearmen, half bowmen is better than half sword, half bowman. The spearmen are better off against mounted troops than the swordsmen that you sometimes get in these combinations, but they still count as mediocre, and you really want to be playing heavy cavalry with them. They're not quite as good, particularly being bowmen, as they would be against cataphracts. They're really optimized for fending off Mongols and things like that. The cataphracts have got a bit more armor and they can sort of steam through them potentially. And then you've got some sort of filler, so it's a 4-wide block of infantry, anti-cavalry designed, couple of cataphracts. The second one, again, you've got a 2-wide block of anti-cavalry infantry, a couple of really good quality medium swordsmen who can go into terrain, and a couple of light infantry. And then the fourth command there is a pretty solid, pretty punchy open flank command, I would say, for heavy cavalry impact and a light cavalry bow, pushing it up to 23 units in the army. So let's have a look how they set up. So what you've got here is that cavalry command over on this wing. Looks like there's a village here and a bit of a road. They've got a hill in the middle of the table. The rest of it's pretty bald. So that cataphract and the shooty infantry is set up in the middle, and this flank is defended here by the medium foot and the mixed shooters. They're obviously looking to go into this terrain, I would guess. This is really, I guess, the opportunity for me here. I've got both blocks of cataphracts, all 5 cataphracts here, thinking let's have a go at this. Even if we're evens against the cataphracts, as long as they can get in without shooting casualties, they should be able to run over those guys. And then I can potentially use actually no, it's not cataphracts, there's the cavalry there. I've got them on the wrong side. Then I've got my spearmen and my gun here, and some cataphracts to try and occupy these people. So let's get these into here, occupy this with this lot, and then potentially try and do some stuff here if I get the opportunity to do it. So let's see how that develops. So yeah, they're making a beeline. The cataphracts are making a beeline for this space here, obviously looking to try to run into these. I've got light horse who've flushed out a small ambush in that piece of brush over there. These guys are holding back a bit. They're being heavy cavalry, they're a bit more vulnerable against the archery fire there. So what's going on? This looks like this is on the opposite side near the village. So this has happened pretty early. That block of 4 light cavalry next to the heavy cavalry have gotten a bit too close, and they've allowed some of my light horse to nip behind them and stop them evading. It's creating a zone of control that pins both of these and prevents them evading when they get clattered by the cataphracts. So that's a bit of well, I guess some easy points to start with, provided the cataphracts actually do win on that one. And that is going to create a bit of a problem for the flanks of these heavy cavalry quite quickly. So yeah, so they drive through very quickly. A couple of the light horse skitter away, but now suddenly there's a big gap here that these guys can exploit, which is going to draw them over here and give them quite a lot to deal with, make it difficult for them to reinforce in the center, I suspect. So what's happening here is the bowmen have inched forwards. They're all trying to shoot. They're trying to form that classic arc of fire. My cavalry here don't really fancy cataphracts and archers. They've fallen back. There's a few bow arm cavalry there. A few light horse are just sort of looking to hold these off. But the game is still all about trying to get these in here and through the middle, and I guess support them with the people who are just winning over here to stop these cavalry interfering too much. So here we go. You've got the cataphracts still chewing up the last elements of the light horse over there. They have driven some of those cavalry back. A few have kind of come forwards, but that does look a bit exposed. I've split them, so there's not actually much potent at all on this part of the table now already, with that big block of light horse losing its ability to slow things down by dint of being run over. So on the other side, again, using the width, this is my cavalry command. All 4 of my light horse, 3 of my light horse have now got round the back of these sort of Chinese swordsmen, Chinese style swordsmen, and as they've come out, they're elite, so they're pretty tough, but it's worth a go. We'll come up and do some shooting at them and try and swarm them. Again, it's stopping them reinforcing this bit, which is really my target here. So I'm using some of my lancers in the center to try and engage the half of their lancers, dropping these light infantry in the flank to do that little tricksy thing where you remove their impact. And these guys are still waiting for something bad to happen to them, I guess. So what goes on here? The spearmen are pushing forwards, engaging the rest of the cavalry. The cataphracts split up a bit. I think these were probably busy mopping up the light horse, chasing them round. So suddenly, half of the cavalry force is now fighting supported spears and cataphracts, which is going to be tricky for them. They're starting to think about defending their baggage. So I think they might have been elite lancers actually, or medium lancers have already broken through, had a good result, benefited from the overlap and the cancelling of the charge, and suddenly this is a very big gap in the middle of quite a small army that the mobile elements are just not successfully protecting the flank of these guys at all. So there is a bit of a breakthrough going there. Here we go. So the enemy cataphracts have had to come up and engage mine. It looks like they're doing pretty well to try and protect these spearmen. My army's kind of clattering through here, and actually the spearmen are now coming into their own and fighting it. So they're all pushing forwards. They're a bit out of formation, but there's a lot of engagement going on here. I've gone into the medium spearmen as well, catching them in the open. Hopefully that cavalry skittling over loose formation troops can win. So there's just combat breaking out all over here, as I've not necessarily been able to do quite as much to really get around the flanks I wanted. I'm just having to take a few opportunities. So it appears that the cataphracts have done very well. I just swept some of my cataphracts away and are now swinging around onto the flanks of my cavalry, who really shouldn't be standing in front of bowmen and definitely shouldn't have enemy cataphracts in their flank. That's not great. But we are still chewing up the rest of the cavalry command. This has kind of gone forwards. This is sort of the remnants of that cavalry command on the enemy left. But the cataphracts are a little bit slow. The spearmen are a little bit slow to exploit it. So they're killing them off, but they're not necessarily doing too much with the position that they're gaining at the moment. Here, this is still turning, by the looks of it, into a battle of attrition. The elite swordsmen are hanging on. They're giving as good as they can get, really, even though they're somewhat surrounded by these guys. And there's the breakthrough. It looks like suddenly the swordsmen have started to crumble. There's one dead there. There's a few markers here. The cavalry have gone in and are causing some markers there as well. So without these swordsmen, suddenly you end up with 2, 3 extras, and here's a light horseman who's come all the way over here and into the back of this. That's what's allowed my cavalry to charge this otherwise well put together anti-cavalry formation. Having enemy in the rear really doesn't help them at all. So that's started to engage them as well. This flank suddenly looks like it's kind of crumbling. This is really the mopping up operation. The last cavalryman is still fighting valiantly. There's still a light horse there, but he's engaged, and you can see what these guys are thinking. They're thinking of a run at the baggage for sure. What have we got here then? This fight is still going on, but we've blown away and gone straight through some of these mixed swordsmen, mixed spearmen as well. So overwhelming on the flanks, not really doing too much in the middle, overwhelming on the other flank as well, just by sort of width and speed and maneuverability and weight of numbers. So that must have been the game, with both flanks of the Guerrians collapsing.
This means war.